Hello, class. For my research paper defense of John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil, I took a look at the research question: how did Rockefeller contribute to the quality of life for people and places around him? Now, I address this by beginning with a description of Rockefeller's life, starting with his childhood and finishing with the dissolution of the Standard Oil Trust. Source material is used to bring out the various people and places that were positively impacted by the Standard Oil Company and Rockefeller himself. A focus on the positives of Rockefeller's life and contributions, with brief mention of less than desirable moments to see the humanity in the man. Now, the significance of the research question is that many people, through books, articles, and TV productions, have been shown the image and practices of John D. Rockefeller to be in line with those of a villain. Despite the prevailing facts of Rockefeller's business models and practices throughout his career with Standard Oil to be within bounds of activity less desirable than those a commoner would condone in public, Rockefeller began and continued throughout his business to lift up and make wealthy those individuals and places in which Standard conducted itself. Now, these are some of the primary sources and my principal research method. The research method followed that of grounded theory, which by its style perceives nothing about the subject as best as possible from the beginning and allows the research findings to dictate the flow of the arguments and narrative that are finally produced. Having little primary knowledge of Rockefeller or the Standard Oil Company past what I had briefly witnessed in the History Channel special, The Men Who Built America, I wanted to better understand a man and a company for which so many, upon the tips of their tongues, would chastise before any praise. With so much responsibility and control over the world markets of petroleum, and by proxy, much power in influencing government, the detestable traits espoused seemed reasonable. Now, beginning my research was with Ida Tarbell's prolific work entitled The History of the Standard Oil Company, where Tarbell extensive research on the subject from beginning to end is impeccable and brilliant. She both humiliates and praises the man. So much of her work outdoes nearly every other work before and after its publishing, which was in 1904. I relied on Tarbell for her chronology and depth of information. Now, many other sources discussed similar aspects of Standard's journey, even citing her work, Tarbell's, within their own. Another special source was written by Rockefeller himself, titled Random Reminiscence of Men and Events, where Rockefeller writes out the various moments that stick out to him in his life's journey. The people, the relationships that he had, the good and the bad, personal experiences along the way. Finally, Allen Nevins's work, John D. Rockefeller, The Heroic Age of American Enterprise, published in 1940, was primarily used for its focus on Rockefeller and his contributions in a positive way to society. This work really dives deep into the personhood of Rockefeller. Now, a summary of my findings. The largest part of my findings included the specifics of various business agreements and historical bullet points along Standard Oil's rise, empire, and fall. Nevins provided much of the personal touch to Rockefeller's mind during his decisions while president of Standard Oil and those that shaped the company and the man. An interesting find overall was Rockefeller's personal beliefs, when it came to the decisions he made. He specifically thought of himself as doing the will of God in his own life. This does sound ironic considering a view from the outside and Rockefeller's perceived high quality of luxury throughout his life, but it is not all what it looked like from the outside. Inside was a man just like many of us, who tried to do the best with what he had and continued to praise God, despite the negatives and because of the positives. Rockefeller, as painted by the media of his time, tarnished his image, but Rockefeller was not innocent in these headlines either. It was my interest to show the positive of a man who is most often negatively viewed. Ironically, the monopoly Rockefeller was accused of pales in comparison to today's monopolies, yet we hear only a whisper. Now, I thank you. I appreciate you for taking a listen, and have a good night.